Hello, Montgomery Catholic. I'm Justin Costanza, your school president, and thanks for tuning in for another one of your favorite videos. It's time that we gather tonight for an update on where we stand with COVID-19 and our school's response. Our goal, from the beginning, remains. We are here to keep the school open and students in the classroom. First, I'd like to update you on our current caseload since the start of school. As you may remember, in mid-September, we reported that we had 2 cases K4 through 12, both of which were located in the high school. Since that time, we have added 7 positive COVID cases since mid-September. 4 of those 7 have come in the last 4 days, hence the video. Of those, 3 have been adults. 3 adults, either classroom teachers or school staff. So, it's important that we remind ourselves of what this means for our greater school community and the protocols that we, the school, will use to report this information to you, the families. I want to be totally honest right here. Some of the information that I'm going to present to you tonight has changed. We originally presented in July our Safe at School plan. That information has had to adapt. Information has changed. Suggestions from the government and health officials have changed. And simply, we have learned a great deal from living out the first few months of school. Thank you for your continued trust in our process. So what are the steps after we receive notification of a positive case? Well, first, any student or adult that is deemed a close contact to the positive case is immediately notified. You'll get a call from the school immediately, notifying you of being a close contact. Notice those words. Those are so important. The question now is, what is a close contact? Well, a student or an adult who has been within 6 feet of an individual that has tested positive for more than 15 minutes is a close contact. This is why the classroom setup is so essential, and understanding the need for spacing in the classrooms and throughout the school building is non-negotiable. If we keep our school members 6 feet apart, we can avoid being at risk for close contact, as defined by the Alabama Department of Public Health. Originally, we predicted sweeping notifications across the entire class, grade, or even school campus. Now, we find this is not necessary due to the ability to maintain effective distance and contact trace efficiently. That's a change to our original plan that we want to make you aware of tonight. As mandated by the Alabama Department of Public Health, close contacts are required to quarantine for a minimum of 14 days. 14 days. If a close contact lives in the household with a positive case, in other words, they remain exposed to that positive case, the quarantine is even longer because the virus has a 10-day window for the ill family member, and then the 14-day quarantine can begin after the illness has run its course. Yes, you heard me correctly. If a sick member of the family cannot be isolated, the other folks in the household may be out of school for as many as 24 days. Now, these are guidelines from the Alabama Department of Public Health, and we do not, unfortunately, have the ability to waiver. Let's talk about some examples of close contact. Let's put it in reality for you guys, the families. We're going to talk about being at school in an extracurricular, like a sport, and then we got plenty of family activities coming through the holidays. Let's start with school. Remember, our goal remains: keep the school open and students in the classroom. Teachers have had to change the way they teach. They've changed the way they interact with students. Because we understand the implications of close contact, this year's classroom setup has adjusted dramatically and drastically. We do this to protect our students and our teachers in the event that anyone might test positive. The highest likelihood of close contact at school happens during lunch or between students who may collaborate in an activity. In a self-contained elementary classroom, close contact could be a student sitting adjacent to a positive case, or if a teacher identifies students who work closely together often. Extracurricular activities remains a hotbed of interest for all of us. As parents and school administrators, we are taking some known risks. I say that intentionally. We are taking known risks that may have predictable outcomes, meaning we should not be surprised. Extracurricular activities are a prime example of a place where we need to all take caution. Let's use basketball as an instance. Our teams are very careful not to overlap the levels of play between middle school, JV, and varsity. They stay as separate as possible to minimize potential impact due to quarantine on those various levels of play. A large team with multiple levels of play had to shut down because of close contact, and this summer we saw that play out in women's athletics. We adjusted in the summer and we protected our levels of play since that time. Let's stay with basketball as an example. Due to the nature of the sport and how practice physically works, limiting close contact between players is nearly impossible, which means that there's a risk there that these families have to accept. So what does that mean for all of us? That means that in the event that one player tests positive, it's very likely that the entire team may have to quarantine for 14 days. You heard me right. No practice, no games, and those students would move to distance learning for 2 weeks. Parents and coaches, we need to all understand in advance that these are very real threats. Happy holidays. We got a lot of family activities coming up. Let's talk through it. We must keep in mind that activities outside the school day, like carpool and hanging out with the friends and the upcoming holidays, are all important areas to focus on. Our cases almost exclusively arise through contact and interaction outside of our school facilities. Let's mention carpool first. If your family carpools with someone who tests positive and they're in the car, you'll be considered a close contact. Friends or groups that visit each other's houses at night or over the weekends, you guys could also be considered close contact. Now, I'm not saying don't hang out with your friends. I'm not saying you can't ride in cars together. I'm simply saying that you are accepting a known risk. Please do not be surprised if there is a positive case and you have to quarantine. The holidays present another opportunity for prudence on your part, and we want to partner with you in this time. As always, these holidays will bring us together, but there's an even greater chance for new faces in many places. We encourage you to think critically about how large you allow your family's bubble to grow. Our goal remains: keep the school open and students in the classroom. Now let's understand why we're having this message shared right now. As I mentioned, COVID numbers are on the rise, not just in our school, but across our community and the greater region. We have seen 4 new cases in 4 days. Prior, we saw 4 cases in the first 4 months. So now we're in championship play in football. We're competing in the state cross-country meet this week, and we're launching all our winter sports, just to name a few things that our students participate in. This is the moment we must stop and remind ourselves about why we take the precautions we have taken all year and why we cannot lose any of this ground. In the event that illness enters our school, we must be prepared. As you know, we cannot keep illness out of our school population, but what we can do is we can mitigate its spread and limit exposure to our entire student body. The virus has affected many of our families, and every single case is different. One thing we know for certain is it's not going away anytime soon. I'm also confident that we need to be prepared over the next weeks and months to see an increase in cases. Now, the time is now that we need to remind ourselves to continue to take precautions that have kept our schools safe from day one. Masking, spacing, sanitizing, and limiting contact are important now as ever. Let's take all the politics out of COVID, and let's be very real for a quick moment. We do not get to choose the quarantine rules, and we do not get to choose who gets sick. But I can tell you, we will not compromise our stance on how we will respond to this ever-present threat. Unfortunately, the coronavirus has hit me personally in a very real way in the last few weeks. I've watched as my parents, aunts, and uncles all battle the virus while caring for my 86 and 89-year-old grandparents who have also become COVID positive. After a week in the hospital, being totally isolated from his entire family and wife of 61 years, we lost my grandfather on Tuesday. He died alone in a hospital bed. No family, no wife, no loved ones. My grandmother, while now grieving, remains at home fighting COVID, pneumonia, and COPD. The threat, as we have said from the start, is real. We've learned a great deal about how to mitigate risk at school and in the classrooms, and we know that some activities are higher risk than others, but we rely on you, the families, to make decisions that are best for your students and your overall family. One question we continue to answer from parents is about moving to distance learning. Please remember, at any point, based on your personal factors or school factors, if you want to move to distance learning, that is your right. Please just let the school know. As you hear in the news from MPS officials and possible public school changes, please know that those decisions do not affect Montgomery Catholic. We will continue to work with the Alabama Department of Public Health and the Archdiocese of Mobile to keep our school open safely. As always, if you have any concerns, comments, or questions, I am available to you personally. My cell phone, get yours out if you want to add me to your contact list. My personal cell phone is 334-782-3639. Call or text anytime. Please do identify who you are, especially if you text. Or reach me by email at jcostanza@montgomerycatholic.org. Now, I pray that your family continues to remain safe. I also pray that we do not live in fear. We honor and love a God that will care for us, guide us, and direct us. When we say, "Be not afraid," we mean it. God bless each of you and your family.